Hey y'all, welcome to Susan's Country Living. I'm Susan. Welcome to my kitchen today. Today I am rendering some lard from some pork fat. I purchased some pork fat from a local farmer, Friedrich Heritage Farms. They have pastured pork. It's delicious, and I thought, I'm going to try my hand at lard. I've been watching a lot of videos about rendering lard and the health benefits of lard versus other fats. We've been told for years, it's fat, you shouldn't eat it, it's not heart healthy. But with pastured pork, there are things in it that are heart healthy. And I was looking some things up this morning about, what is it that makes it good for you. And remember, this is pastured pork. This is not pork that has been fed genetically modified corn or soy, or feed that has been treated with glycophosphates, which is Roundup. A lot of conventional animal feeds have have amounts in there that that can get into your food. So I'm using pastured pork, and the lard is a good source of vitamin D. Some health benefits to it: the cholesterol lowering effects, which is kind of, you think, well, that's lard, that's fat, but it is a good source of healthy fat. Olive oil contains 77% monounsaturated fatty acids, and then lard is the next most monounsaturated fat at 48%. And these are the fats that help to lower your cholesterol. Pasture-raised pigs per tablespoon of lard have 1,100 international units of vitamin D. Not all pigs will have the same. It depends on what they have consumed. Pork fat has a high smoking point. You can cook at a higher level. It's not going to smoke. And lard contains choline. Choline, only about 10% of the population get enough choline in their diets. Low levels are connected with everything from a greater risk of heart disease, Alzheimer's, to problems with your livers, because choline helps move cholesterol and very low density lipoproteins from the liver, and a deficiency can lead to a buildup of fat and cholesterol. Lard is a good source of choline, anywhere from 102 milligrams per cup to 399 milligrams, depending on how the pig was raised. Lard from organic, pasture-raised pigs will likely contain a significantly more choline than conventionally raised pork, what I'm using is pork from pastured pigs. Another good source of choline are eggs, chicken, broccoli, and cauliflower. So yeah, I've heard about that heart healthiness of lard, and that just kind of defeats everything that I've heard all my life, but there's been a lot of research on that, and so I'm going to give it a try. I love baked goods made with lard, biscuits and pie crust. It just doesn't compare to shortening, which is not good for you, that hydrogenated oil. Also, the lard that you buy at the grocery store in the bricks, those have been hydrogenated too, and they're from conventionally raised pigs, which could contain that Roundup ingredient, that glycophosphate. So let me show you what I've got going on here. I'm using cast iron pot, and the pork that I receive, or that I purchase, is in 2-pound packages, and it's been ground. So I just have this on very low. In fact, I can kind of touch it. I'm just going to get everything melted because it's been in the freezer, and you can see there are parts of meat in there. Those will fry up to nice cracklings. That is one of my husband's favorite things. It's like candy. Just salt it. Oh, it's yummy, crispy. So the videos I've been watching, I've seen people do it in crock pots where it takes a couple of days. My crock pots have cracks, and I'm afraid the oil will seep in there. And I don't want to use a plastic liner because it will melt that plastic liner, because it will get so hot. So I'm using this cast iron pot. I'm only doing 4 pounds. It's ground pork fat. I purchased it. It's already ground. If it was not ground, it would need to be cut up into small chunks. But when you do have it ground like this, you will get more lard out of your fat. So we're just going to let this set and melt down, and I'll start to stir it. I'm not adding any water. If you add water, there's going to be a lot of bubbling because there is moisture in there. There's water in that fat, and it's going to cook all that moisture out. And then when it stops that bubbling and boiling like a frying, you know that you have all the moisture out and you're ready to jar it up. So what you need to have is some clean jars. I'm going to use 1 pint white mouth jars. Going to get them washed up and dried. They're going to go in the toaster oven because you want to have them hot. You'll need some lids and some rings to make a shelf stable fat that can sit on your pantry shelf in a dark, cool place for, at least a year. So we'll check on this later and see how it goes. Okay, so we have our pork fat still rendering. Scrape the bottom because it will tend to sometimes stick. Cracklings get really, really dark. Then I'll remove those over here. But this is still bubbling, so it still has moisture in it. I did put it in the oven on 350 to kind of melt down those big blocks of fat that were frozen, and let it go in there, and it did a really good job. But now I'm ready to move it to the stove so I can watch it. And I've turned this Vena hood on so that it takes the fumes, the smell. It doesn't have a bad smell. It's just a pork, so it smells like pork. So we're just going to keep on until there's no more bubbling. Okay, so the boiling has stopped on the pork rendering, or lard rendering. And what I've done is I've taken out all the cracklings, all the solid part that's left. Now these are good to eat. A little salt on them. Yummy, yummy, yummy. You can put them in their cracklings, crackling cornbread. Anything you wanted a pork flavor added to. So what I'll probably do is we'll eat a few of these that have a little bit of meat on them, and then I will put the others in a jar and stick them in the fridge and use them, and probably I'll put some in cornbread and maybe some beans, stuff like that. Some people puree this, and then we'll use it like bacon grease, adding it for flavoring. So we're just going to set that there, and I'm going to make sure that I get all the little pieces out. So it kind of started to smoke when all of the bubbling stopped. So I knew, hey, it's ready. So I'm just getting all these out. And then we're going to jar this up. I've got my jars heating over here with the lids also, so that there's no water at all in the jars or on the lids. So we're going to get those jarred up here in just a minute. I got to get some cheesecloth. And you'll also need a metal funnel. Don't use plastic funnel. Okay, so I got a jar out from the toaster oven back there. And I have my metal funnel. And then I have a strainer and some cheesecloth. You could use a piece of unbleached muslin or cotton or, anything like that. My jar is very hot, which you want because this lard, this oil, is very, very hot. So what this is going to do, it's going to filter out any of the solid pieces here. And just going to slowly, you don't have to worry about a headspace at all. I think I'm going to kind of fold this around like that. And we're just going to go slow about it. I'm thinking I might want to use my small one, my little small ladle, but we'll be okay. So we're going to try, I think I'm going to hold that right there. All right, here we go. I'll try to get from the top. There we go. So like I said, you don't have to worry about a headspace. And right now this looks kind of yellowish color, but when it solidifies, it should be white. That's what I'm hoping for. You don't want any of the impurities in it. That's what rendering does. It removes impurities. So you don't want any of the solid part in it, or that could be a problem and cause spoilage. Water can also be a problem, which causes spoilage. And the more that you put in there, the less room for oxygen, which can also cause things to get rancid. Boy, that handle's hot. That little handle, yeah, it's conducting heat. That's what I teach my kids at school. Metal is a good conductor of heat. So I'm going to just grab that there because I want to add just a little more. And I think that's good right there. So I have a little spoon rest that I'm going to put this on over here while I get another jar and seal that one. So, just going to wipe that a little bit. You don't have to worry about processing these at all. So I've got a clean lid. Just going to put that lid on there. The band. There's my first jar of rendered lard. And that jar is hot, hot, hot. So I'm just going to set that to the side here on this board. I put a lot of jars in there. I had no idea how many jars I would need, so better safe than sorry. And that's it. I'll go ahead and finish these up, and then we'll show you what they look like when they're cool. So the lard has cooled. I can touch it, and it's still liquid, but it's getting lighter and should lighten up the more that it solidifies. It's still liquid in there. It did seal on the top. So from 4 pounds of ground pork fat, I have 3 of these pint containers and about 1/3 of another one. And about a quart of cracklings. We'd eaten some of them. They're really yummy. Just a little, maybe a tablespoonful with a little salt on it. Kind of satisfies that crunchy, salty craving that you might get. I can see these sprinkled on top of beans and cornbread, added to a scrambled eggs instead of sausage. If you don't happen to have that, we're going to keep these in the freezer and just pull them out as we're needed. So if you come across some pastured, organically grown pork, someone locally that has that, and they have pork fat for sale, or go to your butcher, and they would also have it there. And we add it to make sausage. If we have deer, we add pork fat to make a really yummy sausage. So make you some lard. It's not as unhealthy as we thought. Helps with the good cholesterol, your vitamin D, your I think it was choline I talked about earlier. But use in moderation. It's not like you're going to drink it. Add it to your biscuits, pancakes, waffles, pie crust, any kind of baked goods. If it does have a porky taste to it, you might not want to add it to cakes or cookies. Just leave it for your pie crust and your biscuits. So I'm glad you stopped by. Give me a thumbs up if you like what you see, and subscribe. And we'll see you next time. Bye, y'all.